What if a single, intense minute could awaken a power you never knew you possessed? This isn't magic, it's neuroscience. The secret lies within a common household item, and the final piece of this puzzle, revealed at the very end, will change how you approach every challenge. Don't miss it. Sensory signal. Our interaction with the world is fundamentally mediated by our senses. Sight, sound, touch, smell, and taste. These are the conduits through which information flows, shaping our perception, our mood, and even our physiological state. But not all sensory inputs are created equal. Some are gentle whispers, easily filtered out by the brain's sophisticated attentional mechanisms. Others, however, are like klaxons, demanding immediate attention, capable of eliciting profound and rapid changes within our nervous system. The oral cavity, the mouth, is a particularly potent zone for such intense sensory experiences. Think about it. It's the gateway for nourishment, but also a crucial first line of defense. The density of sensory receptors in the tongue, gums, and lining of the mouth is incredibly high, designed to rapidly assess what we're ingesting. Is it safe, nutritious, potentially harmful? This isn't just about discerning sweet from sour. It's about a primal system wired for survival. The sensations we experience in the mouth, particularly those that are pungent, spicy, or have a strong thermal component like extreme cold or heat, can trigger a cascade of neural events far beyond simple taste perception. We're talking about the activation of specific nerve pathways that communicate directly with ancient parts of our brain, regions responsible for arousal, alertness, and even the fight or flight response. Imagine the jolt from biting into something unexpectedly fiery or intensely bitter. That's not just an unpleasant taste, it's a powerful neurochemical event. The trigeminal nerve, a massive cranial nerve with extensive sensory branches throughout the face, including deep within the oral and nasal cavities, plays a critical role here. It's responsible for sensations like touch, temperature, and pain in these areas, and its activation can be incredibly robust. When you chew on something with a very strong, pervasive flavor profile, something that doesn't just dance on the taste buds, but seems to permeate the entire oral environment, you are, in effect, sending a high-amplitude signal straight into the core of your brain. This kind of intense oral sensory input is, in many ways, a deliberately induced stressor, albeit a very controlled and short-lived one. The body doesn't always distinguish between different types of acute stressors at the initial signaling phase. A sudden, sharp sensory jolt can mimic the kind of alert signal that would historically have indicated an immediate environmental challenge or threat. This is not to say it's dangerous. Rather, it's about leveraging a built-in physiological mechanism. We're tapping into a system designed to rapidly mobilize resources. The key is the intensity and the nature of the stimulus. A mild flavor won't do it. We need something that commands the full attention of these sensory pathways, something that makes the nervous system sit up and take notice. This initial, powerful sensory signal is the crucial first step, the spark that ignites a chain reaction leading towards an enhanced state of readiness and capability. It's about understanding that your mouth is not just for eating and speaking. It's a direct interface for modulating your brain state. The beauty of this approach is its immediacy. Unlike dietary changes or even some forms of exercise that require time to manifest their benefits, the impact of a potent oral sensory stimulus can be felt within moments. This is because the neural pathways involved are direct and fast-acting. We're not waiting for compounds to be digested and absorbed into the bloodstream in the conventional sense. We're leveraging the direct neurostimulatory properties of the interaction itself. The act of chewing, the release of volatile compounds, the irritation or stimulation of nerve endings in the oral mucosa. These all contribute to the strength of that initial signal. It's a bit like flipping a master switch, one that can rapidly alter your internal landscape from a state of baseline activity to one of heightened arousal and focus. And the specific spice we'll discuss has unique properties that make it an ideal candidate for this kind of precise neurohacking, allowing you to harness this phenomenon in a controlled and highly effective manner. It's about using an external trigger to unlock an internal state. Nerve pathway. The primary player in transmitting these intense oral sensations to the brain is, as I mentioned, the trigeminal nerve, also known as cranial nerve 5. This is a truly remarkable piece of neural architecture. It's the largest of the cranial nerves and has 3 major branches that provide sensory innervation to the face, including the forehead, cheeks, jaw, and importantly for our discussion, the entirety of the oral cavity, the teeth, gums, tongue, and mucosal lining. It also carries motor fibers to the muscles of mastication, the muscles you use to chew. So, when you're actively chewing on something intensely stimulating, you're not just passively experiencing a taste, you're engaging a complex system that is both sensing and acting. The sensory information picked up by the trigeminal nerve endings, information about temperature, texture, chemical irritation, like capsaicin from chili or eugenol from cloves, and pressure, doesn't just meander aimlessly. It travels with incredible speed along these neural superhighways directly into the brainstem. Once in the brainstem, these signals arrive at specific clusters of neurons known as the trigeminal nuclei. This is where the information undergoes initial processing, but it certainly doesn't stop there. The trigeminal system has extensive and highly influential connections to other critical brain regions. One of the most important of these connections is to the reticular activating system, RAS, a diffuse network of neurons located in the brainstem that plays a fundamental role in regulating arousal, wakefulness, and attention. Think of the RAS as the brain's main alertness control center. When the trigeminal nerve fires robustly due to a strong oral stimulus, it's like sending a powerful surge of input directly into this arousal system. This is why a splash of cold water on your face, another potent trigeminal stimulant, can instantly make you feel more awake. The intense oral sensation we're discussing works through a similar, if not even more direct and powerful, intrabrain pathway. Furthermore, signals from the trigeminal nuclei project to the thalamus, which is often described as the brain's relay station for sensory information. From the thalamus, this information is then distributed to various cortical areas, including the somatosensory cortex, where the precise nature and location of the sensation are consciously perceived. But for our purposes of unlocking strength and alertness, the subcortical pathways, particularly those involving the RAS and its connections to neuromodulatory centers, are paramount. These pathways can influence your overall state much more rapidly and globally than conscious perception alone. We're essentially using a specific type of sensory input to wake up the brain from the bottom up, flooding key arousal circuits with strong, coherent signals. The choice of spice is critical because we want one that maximally engages these trigeminal pathways without causing actual harm or prolonged unbearable discomfort. It needs to be a sharp, clear, and potent signal. The act of chewing for a defined period, say 60 seconds, ensures sustained activation of these pathways. It's not just a fleeting sensation, it's a continuous barrage of neural impulses that keeps the system engaged. This sustained input helps to shift the overall neurochemical balance in the brain towards a state more conducive to alertness and effort. We are, in a very real sense, leveraging the anatomy and physiology of this ancient cranial nerve to dial up our brain's operational capacity. Understanding this direct line of communication from the mouth via the trigeminal nerve to the core arousal centers of the brain is key to appreciating why such a seemingly simple act can have such profound effects on both mental and physical readiness. It's not just in your head in a psychological sense. It's a hardwired physiological response originating from a specific, potent sensory trigger. Alertness surge. When the trigeminal nerve delivers its potent message to the brainstem, particularly to areas like the reticular activating system, it triggers a rapid release of key neuromodulators. These are chemicals that don't just transmit simple excitatory or inhibitory signals between two neurons. They influence the activity of entire populations of neurons, effectively changing the weather in the brain. One of the most important neuromodulators released in response to this kind of acute, surprising sensory input is norepinephrine, also known as noradrenaline. The primary source of norepinephrine in the brain is a small nucleus in the brainstem called the locus coeruleus. Neurons from the locus coeruleus project widely throughout the entire brain and spinal cord, influencing attention, sleep-wake cycles, mood, and physiological arousal. When the locus coeruleus is activated, it's like a broadcast signal telling the entire nervous system to pay attention and get ready. The intense oral stimulus acts as a powerful trigger for norepinephrine release. This surge in norepinephrine has several immediate and noticeable effects. Firstly, it sharpens focus and vigilance. Your ability to concentrate on a task, to filter out distractions, and to process information quickly can be significantly enhanced. This is the brain shifting into a high alert mode, preparing to deal with whatever challenge the intense stimulus might signify. Secondly, norepinephrine plays a crucial role in mobilizing energy resources. It signals the body to increase heart rate and blood pressure, ensuring that more oxygen and glucose are delivered to the muscles and, importantly, to the brain itself. This physiological preparation is essential for any kind of demanding mental or physical effort. Think of it as your internal system priming itself for action, moving from a resting state to a state of readiness. Alongside norepinephrine, there's often a concurrent, albeit perhaps more nuanced, influence on the dopamine system. Dopamine is famously associated with motivation, reward, and goal-directed behavior, but it also plays a significant role in motor control and cognitive function. While the primary effect of an acute, somewhat aversive stimulus like an intensely spicy or pungent sensation might be a norepinephrine surge, the act of successfully enduring or overcoming this mild controlled stressor can also engage dopamine pathways. Moreover, some of these intense sensations can directly trigger the release of endorphins, the body's natural opioids, which can modulate pain perception and contribute to a sense of well-being or even exhilaration after the initial shock subsides. However, the immediate jolt, the one that translates into rapid enhancement of alertness and readiness, is predominantly driven by the swift and widespread action of norepinephrine. This neurochemical shift is not subtle. It's a fundamental change in your brain's operating state. You move from a baseline, perhaps even a slightly fatigued or unfocused state, to one of heightened sensory awareness, increased cognitive processing speed, and an underlying feeling of being switched on. The 60-second duration of chewing the spice is important here because it provides a sustained enough signal to robustly activate these neuromodulatory systems and allow norepinephrine levels to rise significantly and exert their effects throughout the brain. It's a biological hack, using a natural stimulus to deliberately engage the very same neurochemical systems that are typically activated in situations requiring peak alertness and performance. The goal is to create this state on demand, predictably and reliably, by understanding and utilizing the body's own intricate signaling mechanisms. This alertness surge is the bridge between the initial sensory input and the tangible enhancements in both mental and physical capabilities that we're aiming for. Physical force. The question then becomes, how does this profound surge in alertness and neurochemical activity, primarily driven by norepinephrine, translate into an actual increase in physical strength or force production? The connection might not seem immediately obvious, but it's rooted in the way our nervous system controls our muscles. Strength isn't just about the size of your muscles. It's critically dependent on the nervous system's ability to recruit and activate motor units. A motor unit consists of a single motor neuron and all the muscle fibers it innervates. To produce more force, you need to do two things: recruit more motor units and make the recruited motor units fire at a higher frequency. This is where the heightened state of arousal and the norepinephrine surge become directly relevant to physical output. Norepinephrine, acting both centrally in the brain and peripherally in the sympathetic nervous system, can significantly enhance motor unit recruitment and firing rates. When your nervous system is in a state of high arousal, it's essentially disinhibited to some extent. The baseline threshold for activating motor neurons can be lowered, making it easier to bring more muscle fibers into play for a given task. Think of it as turning up the gain on an amplifier. The same input signal results in a much larger output. This means that for a voluntary effort, like lifting a weight or performing an explosive movement, you can access a greater percentage of your muscle's potential strength than you might in a more placid or fatigued state. Athletes often talk about being amped up or in the zone before a big performance. This is, in part, a manifestation of an optimized neurochemical state, rich in norepinephrine and adrenaline. Furthermore, the release of adrenaline, epinephrine, from the adrenal glands, which is a downstream effect of the sympathetic nervous system activation triggered by the norepinephrine surge from the locus coeruleus, also plays a crucial role. Adrenaline circulates throughout the body and has direct effects on muscle tissue, enhancing contractility and speeding up energy metabolism within the muscle cells. It also increases heart rate and blood flow to the muscles, further supporting their capacity for work. So you have a central effect in the brain improving motor command and recruitment, and a peripheral effect via adrenaline directly boosting muscle function and energy supply. This dual action is what can lead to a tangible, measurable increase in short-term physical force production. It's not about building new muscle in 60 seconds. It's about unlocking more of the capacity that already exists within your current musculature by optimizing the neural drive to those muscles. This effect is most pronounced for tasks requiring maximal or near maximal effort over a short duration. Think a heavy lift, a sprint, or a powerful jump. The enhanced neural drive allows for a more forceful and synchronized contraction of muscle fibers. It's a temporary boost, a way to tap into reserves that are often left untouched under normal circumstances. The intense sensory stimulus from the spice essentially acts as a trigger to convince your nervous system that a high-effort output is immediately required. The 60-second chewing protocol is designed to bring these systems online robustly. It's a specific tool for a specific purpose, to momentarily elevate your capacity for physical force by supercharging the neural signaling that governs muscular contraction. This isn't a replacement for training, but rather a way to express the strength you've built more completely in moments when you truly need it. Mental edge? While the prospect of unlocking hidden physical strength is certainly compelling, the benefits of this protocol extend deeply into the cognitive realm. The same neurochemical surge, particularly the widespread release of norepinephrine that primes the body for physical action, also sharpens the mind, providing a distinct mental edge. This isn't just about feeling more awake in a general sense. It's about specific enhancements in cognitive functions that are critical for performance in almost any demanding task, whether it's an important exam, a complex problem-solving session, a high-stakes negotiation, or even focused creative work. The brain, after all, is the ultimate command center, and optimizing its function is key to unlocking our full potential in any domain. One of the primary cognitive benefits is an improvement in sustained attention and vigilance. Norepinephrine, through its action on circuits involving the prefrontal cortex and other attentional networks, helps you to stay focused on the task at hand and resist distractions. In a world filled with constant stimuli vying for our attention, the ability to maintain a tight focus is invaluable. This protocol can provide a temporary but significant boost in that capacity, allowing you to dive deeper into your work and maintain concentration for longer periods immediately following the stimulus. It's like clearing away the mental fog and allowing for a more direct and unencumbered engagement with whatever you're trying to accomplish. This heightened focus isn't frantic or scattered. It's a calm, intense readiness, a state of being highly alert, yet composed. Beyond attention, this neurochemical state can also enhance working memory and executive functions. Working memory is your mental workspace, the ability to hold and manipulate information in your mind to guide your behavior, crucial for reasoning, planning, and decision-making. Executive functions are a set of higher-order cognitive processes that control and manage other cognitive abilities. The norepinephrine released can fine-tune the activity in the prefrontal cortex, the brain region most heavily involved in these functions, leading to more efficient information processing and improved decision-making under pressure. You might find yourself thinking more clearly, making connections more readily, and responding more adaptively to changing circumstances. This isn't about becoming smarter in an instant, but about making better use of the cognitive resources you already possess. Furthermore, the state of heightened arousal can also influence motivation and reduce the perception of effort. When norepinephrine levels are optimized, tasks that might otherwise seem daunting or tedious can feel more engaging and manageable. This is partly because norepinephrine can increase the signal-to-noise ratio in neural processing, making cognitive operations feel smoother and less effortful. The feeling of being switched on can translate into a greater willingness to tackle challenges and persevere through difficulties. It's important to note that this is a tool for acute enhancement. It's not a substitute for proper sleep, nutrition, or sustained cognitive training. However, when you need a reliable way to elevate your mental acuity for a specific period, this method provides a direct physiological lever to pull. The mental edge gained is a powerful complement to any physical benefits, creating a more holistic enhancement of your capabilities. Methodical use. Now, let's get into the specifics of how to apply this. The spice we're focusing on for this protocol needs to possess particular characteristics. It should be intensely stimulating to the trigeminal nerve, safe to chew in small quantities, and readily available. One excellent candidate fitting these criteria is whole cloves. Cloves contain a compound called eugenol, which is responsible for their strong, pungent, and slightly numbing sensation. This profile is ideal for creating the kind of robust sensory signal we need. Other options could include a small piece of very potent fresh ginger root, or perhaps even a single Szechuan peppercorn if you're familiar with its unique tingly, numbing effect. But cloves are generally accessible and well tolerated in small amounts by most people. Avoid anything excessively caustic or that could cause actual burns or prolonged severe discomfort. The goal is intense stimulation, not tissue damage. The protocol itself is straightforward. You will take one, perhaps two, whole dried clove buds. Don't use ground cloves. The intact bud provides a more sustained release of its active compounds as you chew. Place the clove buds in your mouth. Then you begin to chew, gently at first, then more deliberately for a full 60 seconds. The aim is to macerate the clove, releasing the eugenol and other volatile compounds, and to spread that intense sensation throughout your oral cavity. You should feel a warming, perhaps slightly burning or numbing sensation building. This is the trigeminal nerve being strongly activated. Focus on that sensation. Don't swallow the clove during this 60-second period. Keep chewing and moving it around your mouth to maximize contact with the oral mucosa. The intensity is key. If it's too mild, you might not get the full desired neurochemical response. It should be strong enough to be attention-grabbing, perhaps even mildly uncomfortable, but not painful to the point of distress. After the 60 seconds of active chewing are complete, you can then spit out the clove remnants. You don't need to swallow them. The primary effect comes from the direct neural stimulation within the mouth, not from systemic absorption of large quantities of eugenol, although some minor absorption will inevitably occur. Immediately following this, you should notice a heightened sense of alertness, a sharpening of your senses, and a feeling of readiness. This is the state we're aiming to achieve. When would you use this? Consider deploying this technique strategically before a demanding physical task, like a heavy workout or a specific athletic event where a burst of strength or power is needed. Or use it before a mentally challenging activity, an important presentation, an exam, a focused writing session, or any situation where peak alertness and cognitive function are paramount. Some important caveats. This is not something to be done constantly throughout the day. It's a tool for acute, short-term enhancement. Overuse could lead to desensitization or oral irritation. Listen to your body. If you have any specific sensitivities or allergies to cloves or similar spices, or any oral health conditions, you should obviously exercise caution or avoid this method. It's also wise to try it out first when you don't have an immediate high-stakes performance, just to see how your individual system responds. The intensity of sensation can be surprising if you're not prepared for it. The 60-second window is a guideline. Some might find 45 seconds sufficient. Others might go slightly longer. but much beyond 90 seconds likely offers diminishing returns and increases the risk of excessive irritation. The key is methodical, intentional use for a specific purpose. Lasting impact. While the immediate effects of this spice chewing protocol are transient, designed for an acute boost in strength and alertness, lasting perhaps for the next 30 minutes to an hour or so, with peak effect sooner, the lasting impact comes from understanding and leveraging such tools for self-regulation. It's about recognizing that you have more agency over your physiological and mental state than you might have previously believed. Each time you successfully use a technique like this to shift your state, you're not just getting a temporary benefit. You're reinforcing the understanding that your internal environment is malleable. This in itself can be incredibly empowering and can have carryover effects into many areas of your life. It builds a sense of self-efficacy, the belief in your capacity to execute behaviors necessary to produce specific performance attainments. Moreover, by strategically using tools that provide an immediate and palpable shift in state, you can also learn to better identify and then consciously access similar states without the external trigger or with more subtle triggers over time. It's a form of interoceptive training, becoming more attuned to your internal bodily signals and learning how to influence them. While this specific spice protocol provides a strong neurochemical push, the repeated experience of that heightened state might make it easier to recognize the internal cues associated with focus and drive, potentially allowing you to volitionally guide yourself closer to that state through other means, like specific breathing techniques or mental focus exercises in the future. The spice acts as a powerful initial catalyst and a tangible demonstration of what's possible. Ultimately, the goal of understanding these kinds of physiological hacks isn't just to find a quick fix, but to deepen your appreciation for the intricate and responsive nature of your own biology. It's about moving from being a passive passenger to an active driver of your mental and physical experience. The knowledge that a simple, accessible spice, when used correctly, can tap into profound neural pathways and unlock tangible benefits is a powerful starting point. The lasting impact is the shift in perspective, seeing your body and brain not as fixed entities, but as dynamic systems that you can learn to modulate and optimize through informed action. This specific technique for strength and alertness is a potent example, but the overarching principle of self-directed physiological regulation is where the truly enduring value lies. The real magic here isn't in some exotic substance, but in understanding the profound, hardwired connections between simple sensory experiences and the deepest, most powerful centers of your brain that govern how you feel, think, and act. By learning to consciously leverage these innate pathways, you're not just finding a temporary boost, you're unlocking a more fundamental capacity to direct your own internal state, to meet challenges with greater strength and clarity, and to access resources within yourself that you may never have realized were there, waiting to be awakened by the right key. This technique of trigeminal nerve activation for alertness is mind-blowing. I've been using a cold shower for a similar effect, but chewing a clove for 60 seconds before a workout or a deep work session sounds so much more targeted and convenient. Can't wait to try this and see how it impacts my lifts and focus. The science makes so much sense.